Hello and welcome back to my channel, Checks, Captures, Threats. Today's episode 42 of the Chess Guide, we're going over strong versus weak knights. So, this is the over halfway now of the strong versus weak part. We've just got the knights and the queens left, so obviously next episode on the chess series, that's what we're doing. Now, here we've got 4 examples as usual, 2 strong, 2 weak positions. Now, the first 2 are going to be about how we can get this knight to be better than a bishop in a closed position, and in this one is how the bishops are better in an open position. Then in the last 2 examples here, just going to show you how in the opening how we should use the knights and how we should not use the knights. So, hopefully by the end of this video we'll now be an expert with knights. Now, this first example here we're going to go over is a closed position as usual. That's what we do because it's some of the hardest positions to get used to, and here this is why the knight can exploit such positions like this with ease. So, in this position here, let's go over the position. So, black is actually a point up. If we count the amount of pawns white has, there is 6 pawns here, and then there is 7 pawns here for black, and then obviously a knight and a bishop on either side. So, now, why here, even though black's a pawn up, the evaluation here says that white is 6.2 points up. So, now the reason for this is let's evaluate it. The pawn structure here we can see is very good. There is a double pawn here, but that's fine. There's not enough trouble for that to cause too much. Now, I think the pawns are fine for black. The king is in an alright position. I mean, either king on each side can't get to the other side very easily. But there is one thing here. Let's have a look at this bishop. This bishop is trapped. You know, it has this many squares here it can go to. So, 4 other squares. And if we look across the whole board, white pawns are on white squares. So, the black coloured bishop can't get it. And even this pawn and this pawn they're all protected. So, this bishop can't even get back to do anything. It's not very good at all. Now, this is where our knight comes into play. So, a very good move here already. What we can do is we could actually try and trap this bishop almost, but we can also play moves like this. So, a knight to d5 here, or d4. Now, the reason for this is because we're going to win this pawn now, because their king can't with the pawns here, and their bishop is on a black coloured square, so it can't help this white square thing. Now, if they move the king, there's a few things. Obviously, we can get the pawn. In this scenario, we'd actually fork them, so we wouldn't do that. Now, if they played just a random king move below here, now, we can take this pawn, and we're guaranteed to win this pawn. So I have to move the bishop back and then this. But there's also other moves here. Let's say they were able to protect both of these. We have an outpost. That's how quickly we can move across the board. If I show you, this is where... Actually, if I go back here, this will be easier to show you. This is every single possible square it could go to on the board. And it literally can go to 7 of these 8 positions. That's how strong a knight is in closed positions. And a bishop, which can go over like 15 really in this position, can only go to 4. That is a real difference in an endgame, which, you know, it proves that just having, though they're the same, you know, point material, being 3 points each, they can cost a whole hell of a lot more. So in this position, this knight could be, you know, as good as a queen at this point, whereas this bishop is just like another pawn almost, just that can just attack little things. So, what we see here is knights are very good in close positions. That's one of the kind of endgame-like principles, but there is that. Now, on the other side here, this is an open position. And if we see here that it's 4 pawns each, you know, these 2 are connected, and these 2 are connected here, but we have 2 in the centre with white. Though, if we pan to the knight now, this knight is protecting the pawn. Very good. We're stopping this from attacking it. But if we count the amount of squares, because it's already close to the edge, it can't go down, you know, to down below, because it's trapped down there, so it physically can't. And here it's only now got 6 squares to go to, and we can only limit ourselves to this one, and this one really, without anything else happening. And this one still can get taken. Now, what we can see here is because this bishop hasn't got any pawns around it, it's free everywhere. look at the amount of spaces it has. You know, okay, it's limited this way, but it can still go to over like 10 spots here. Now, why is this useful for black? So in a position like this, we're trying to protect this pawn, obviously. So if we try and get our king over here, they're going to very easily be able to get their king here. Now, yes, they're going to be able to block it, but we can now, as black, just start pushing. You know, we have this, we can start doing whatever. You know, we could try something like this. You know, maybe that's not going to work. You know, we have even pawn pushes here. This limits black to complete, you know, what we say is they literally, whatever move they play here, they're going to lose something. Because this pawn can't move because they lose it. They can't move this pawn because they lose it. They can't move this pawn because they lose it. Anywhere they move the knight, they lose this pawn. Anywhere they move the king, they lose the pawn. So whatever they physically do in this position, I think other than this move, actually, it is going to be... And then we can just keep moving our pawns. That is the only physical, like, free moves they can play here. So now, as it just keeps moving, we're able to slowly get our pawns, you know, up now. So if there was a capture, we can just push to promote as black. So here, when your bishop is in an endgame, have it when it's in an open position. Do not have it when it's in a closed position. It will be useless. You know, and the same thing goes with a knight. A knight is good when it's in closed positions. Now, it's still usable in open positions, but you've got to make sure you don't get it near the bishop. Now, there is certain patterns we can use here. For example, with this knight, if it was right on the edge of the board, as we can see, the knight only has these 4 squares, so where the bishop holds all of them. That's something we'll go over later for those sort of patterns that you can immediately do in a game. So there is that. Now, let's go over the opening stuff. So, just play a Queen's Gambit here. Now, very simple, obviously, remembering how we do the Queen Gambit here. Now, here we're going to already move a knight. Now, as we've said before, bishops are probably more used in an opening than knights. So they have more things to attack. Don't get me wrong, there is a principle. Usually we move knights before bishops because we know where they're going. We don't know where this bishop's going. Normally we want to put it over here, but we can't because of that, really. So when this knight moves, now we can. So there is that. Now, the point of a knight is, in the opening, we're using it more as a defensive piece. Maybe sometimes we can try and charge into, like, you know, this e5 square, for example. But very little that will happen. And also, we're here just to protect stuff. So this protects this bishop. We protect this pawn. You know, we're protecting the king side as well. So there is that. And after a few moves, when we get the other knight out here, it's the same thing. We're putting some pressure on this, so we're doing something, but it's not going to, you know, immediately get us the pawn. We're also looking at stuff like we're covering these positions here, if in case there's any pawn push. You know, we're covering this square, because earlier there might have been a chance they could play this knight move, a very, very risky move that we wouldn't want. So what we're seeing here is how the knights are kind of used here protectively at the start, and now we're just going to show you here straight away some obvious things. Obviously, don't get a knight on the rim here. It's not good. There's, you know, yes, you could say, oh, we have these moves, but it limits us to now having 3 moves compared to if we moved here over like 6 moves now. So, it really depends, obviously. Now, don't get me wrong, knight on the rim in Stim is always, again, it depends on the position. Maybe it's going to be a brilliant move and we, you know, attack like, create a fork or something. But, again, it's 9 times out of 10, this move will never do anything. So, now, let's say we do get our pieces into normal position again here. But, you know, we try to attack something straight away. We try and say, okay, we're going to create this as an attacking piece. All it takes for black is to do one move here and we're already kind of troubled. You know, we have to move either back again, which is wasting development. We don't want to move a piece twice in the opening, which we've already done. And also, if we capture, we're giving them a tempo. We're getting their bishop out now. They've got 3 pieces out compared to our 1. And that's only been 6 moves. 6 moves, we've got 3 pieces out, it looks like. Whereas they've got, you know, their pawns out. And we've got, you know, it's just not good. So, that's going to be the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed now how the knights are good in close positions. And in the opening, we use them protectively. And we don't, you know, go out all out war to them. So, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. So, thank you and bye bye.